In tonight's news edition, Egypt's military finds human remains belonging to those on board an Egypt air flight that crashed in the Mediterranean. Protesters attempt to break into Baghdad's green zone but are repelled by security forces using tear gas, water cannons, and shots in the air. And European Union ministers back making it easier and faster to suspend visa waivers with third countries. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King called Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, expressing his deep sorrow and heartfelt condolences over victims of the Egyptian plane that crashed in the Mediterranean yesterday. The King also made a similar phone call with French President François Hollande to condole him over the death of a number of French citizens who were also on board of the plane. Egypt's Civil Aviation Ministry confirmed that the Egyptian military had found human remains believed to belong to those on board the Egypt Air flight that crashed in the Mediterranean on its way from Paris. The ministry said in a statement that Egyptian Navy was able to retrieve more debris from the plane, some of the passengers' belongings, human remains, and plane seats. Passengers' belongings were spotted 290 kilometers north of the coastal city of Alexandria. The Greek defense minister said earlier today that the Egyptian military had found body parts. 66 people were on board the flight MS-804 flying from Paris to Cairo when it went missing on Thursday morning. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has expressed his condolences to the families of the victims. Egypt's aviation minister has said the cause might be terrorist attack, but no group has claimed responsibility. Iraq's military said authorities had regained complete control over riots after security forces opened fire on protesters who stormed the heavily fortified Green Zone in central Baghdad. A statement from the Joint Operations Command said infiltrators exploited the forces' preoccupation with the preparations for the Fallujah battle to infiltrate state institutions and cause chaos. Earlier, the Iraq's military imposed a curfew on Baghdad until further notice, after security forces fired tear gas and live bullets at protesters who stormed into the Green Zone. Dozens of protesters were injured in the clashes, including supporters of powerful Shiite Muslim cleric Muqtada al-Sadr, who was also displeased with the government's failure to approve anti-corruption reforms and provide security. Protesters had tried to reach the cabinet building but were stopped at the gates. Israel's defense minister resigned, saying the nation was being taken over by extremist and dangerous elements after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu moved to replace him with a far-right politician in an effort to strengthen his coalition. Political sources say Netanyahu has offered longtime rival Avigdor Lieberman the defense portfolio, a post crucial for a country on a perennial war footing. The defense ministry also runs civil affairs in the occupied West Bank, where Palestinians struggling for statehood live in friction with Jewish settlers. Netanyahu rebuffed Yalion's criticism in a video statement that the reshuffle in portfolios did not result from a crisis in faith, but from the end to expand the government to bring stability to Israel, given the great challenges it faces. European Union ministers backed making it easier and faster to suspend visa waivers with third countries and said relaxing travel rules for more states was imminent amid deepening public concern about immigration into the bloc. The EU is in politically sensitive talks with Ankara on easier travel requirements for Turks seeking to visit Europe for up to 3 months and with no right to work. The 28-nation bloc is planning the concession as part of a deal whereby Turkey helps curb the influx of migrants and refugees to Europe. But some EU states are anxious about opening up to a mainly Muslim nation of 79 million people. To ease such concerns, the EU is beefing up a mechanism that allows it to suspend visa waiver with any of some 60 countries that have such agreements in place. The plan, endorsed by 28 EU interior ministers, enjoys backing in the European Parliament, which was signed off on as well. In the ongoing war against terrorism, the United States and its allies conducted 17 strikes against Daesh in Iraq and Syria. The combined joint task force said in a statement that 2 strikes in Syria destroyed an oil pump jack and 2 vehicles. In Iraq, 15 strikes near 10 cities hit several tactical units and destroyed multiple fighting positions, assembly areas, tunnels, and nearly 30 rocket rails, among other targets. The Japanese developer of a robot are asking the public to come up with ideas for what their waist-high humanoid can do and are offering a software development kit for programmers to get creative. The fast-selling robot, known as Pepper, can already laugh and serve coffee and is being used as a waiter, salesman, and customer service representative in about 500 companies in Japan, including Nestle and Nissan. Recognizing up to 16,000 signals, Pepper is capable of reacting to any hand, and as more and more programmers develop the boot, SoftBank looks forward to increasing roles of the robots in society. The robot cost $1,800. Nevertheless, the first 6 batches, averaging 1,000 units, were sold out in less than a minute. Latvian Tom Skujins claimed a win in the mountainous Stage 5 of the Tour of California, climbing to the finish in the ski resort town of South Lake Tahoe. The 24-year-old finished the 213-kilometer stage from the town of Lodi to Tahoe in 5 hours, 54 minutes, and 45 seconds to take his first stage win of the event. He was followed by his climbing breakaway by rally cycling rider Adam Davos of Canada, who finished in 2nd place, and Spanish Team Sky rider Xavier Zendo, who took 3rd place.
Stage today, starting in Lodi.
The Secretary General of Qatar's 2022 World Cup Organizing Committee gave a robust defense of his country's recording during a visit to London. He complained that Qatar had been singled out for allegations of corruption, resulting in the awarding of the 2022 World Cup in the first place, and then for continued calls for Qatar to be stripped of the competition, despite investigations yielding no evidence of corruption. He said that Qatar had cooperated with all FIFA investigations, but was still subjected to calls for his country to be stripped of the 2022 World Cup.
Legitimate ambition that any nation can aspire to, and we aspire to it at the time.
And finally, cool weather prevails in most regions for the rest of tonight, with northwesterly light to moderate winds. A rise in temperature is expected tomorrow, creating moderate conditions in most parts of the kingdom, but it will remain relatively hot in the Badia regions. High altitude clouds are also expected, while winds will be northwesterly moderate. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect hot conditions tomorrow with a high of 36 degrees Celsius, while winds will be northerly moderate and the seas calm. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here's a reminder of our top stories. Egypt's military finds human remains belonging to those on board an Egypt Air flight that crashed in the Mediterranean. Protesters attempt to break into Baghdad's green zone but are repelled by security forces using tear gas, water cannons and shots in the air. And European Union ministers back making it easier and faster to suspend visa waivers with third countries. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Nancy Khair. Thank you for watching and have a good night.